When I first took the job, I thought it was just another easy paycheck. Watch the cameras, patrol the halls, and keep vandals out of the old Mercyfield hospital. That's all they told me. But when I found the folded paper on the desk with the title rules for the night warden, I realized this job was different. Rule 1. Never use the main elevator after midnight. If it opens by itself, don't look inside. Rule 2. If you hear someone crying in the east wing, ignore it. Rule 3. Do not acknowledge staff who aren't on the schedule. And the list went on. At first, I thought it was a prank, a creepy initiation to spook the new guy. But when the elevator dinged at 12:03 a.m., doors sliding open on their own, my hands started to sweat. The car was empty, at least I think it was. The lights inside flickered as if someone invisible had just stepped out. I stayed frozen behind the desk until the doors shut again. The building groaned like it was breathing, air ducts sighing above me. I tried to laugh it off, but my eyes kept darting to the sheet of rules, lying there like it had been waiting for me. Rule 4. The morgue must remain locked at all times. If you hear scratching from inside, call the number on the back of this paper. I flipped it over. A phone number was scribbled in shaky handwriting. My phone had no service, but when I dialed, it rang. Someone picked up, breathing slowly on the other end. I whispered, "Is this a joke?" The breathing stopped. Then a calm voice replied, "It won't scratch tonight. Don't worry. Just follow the rules." The line went dead. I set the phone down carefully, every nerve in me buzzing. As I began my first patrol, my flashlight caught peeling paint and rusted gurneys abandoned in the halls. My footsteps echoed too loud, bouncing back at me like I wasn't alone. In the pediatric wing, a mural of cartoon animals smiled down, their faces faded and cracked. Halfway through, I heard it, the faint sound of crying. A woman's voice muffled, somewhere down the east wing. Rule 2 came rushing back, ignore it. My throat tightened as I turned my back on the sound. The crying followed me, growing louder, then stopped suddenly as if cut off mid-breath. Back at the desk, I found something waiting that hadn't been there before. A small metal tray, the kind used for surgical tools. And sitting in the center of it was a single, faceless silver coin. My stomach dropped. It hadn't been there when I left. I picked it up, turning it over in my hand. Cold. Heavier than it looked. No engravings, no markings, just blank. I set it down carefully, but the moment I let go, the coin spun by itself, circling in place until it clinked to a stop, pointing toward the morgue. The morgue was at the far end of the basement. I told myself I wouldn't go near it, not on the first night. But the coin, the way it spun on its own and pointed, it felt like a dare. I shoved it back into the tray and tried to distract myself with the cameras. The monitors showed the empty halls in dull green tones. In one feed, the elevator doors opened again. This time, something stood inside, a tall figure blurry like static on a screen. When the doors closed, the monitor flickered and went black. My hands shook as I adjusted the knobs, but the feed never came back. Only 9 cameras were working now instead of 10. I muttered under my breath, "It's fine. It's just old wiring." But even as I said it, the crying in the east wing started again. Rule 2 echoed in my mind. Ignore it. So I stayed put, focusing on the tray. Except the coin was gone. I scanned the desk, the floor, my pockets. Nothing. My heart hammered harder than it should over a missing coin. Footsteps echoed from the hallway outside. Not mine. Steady, deliberate, coming closer. I pressed myself back in the chair, trying to breathe quietly. A shadow passed across the frosted glass of the office door. It lingered, then moved on. I wanted to leave, but the rules didn't mention leaving. They only told me what not to do. And some part of me believed breaking those rules would be worse than staying. So I gripped my flashlight and forced myself back into the hall. The air was heavier than before. Every flicker of the fluorescent lights stretched my shadow unnaturally long, twisting across the walls. I walked past rooms filled with rusting beds, their wheels locked in place, curtains stiff with mold. When I reached the stairwell, I froze. Sitting on the top step was the coin, upright, balanced perfectly on its edge, as if someone had set it there and left it standing. I reached for it slowly, but before I touched it, it toppled and rolled downward into the dark. The clinking echoed far longer than it should have. I leaned over the rail, shining my light down the stairwell. It rolled all the way into the basement, stopping right outside the morgue door. My stomach turned. I stayed there, gripping the railing until my knuckles went white. Somewhere below, I swore I heard the faintest scratching against a door. I remembered the phone number, remembered the voice that said, "It won't scratch tonight." They had been wrong. I stayed there, gripping the railing until my knuckles went white. Somewhere below, I swore I heard the faintest scratching against a door. I remembered the phone number, remembered the voice that said, "It won't scratch tonight." They had been wrong. I forced myself to turn away. I walked the opposite direction, back into the pediatric wing. The murals looked worse under my flashlight. A cartoon rabbit's painted smile was peeling, curling into a grimace. For a second, I thought its eyes moved with me. I kept walking. The crying had stopped, replaced with a new sound, soft humming. A lullaby, drifting from a patient's room. I leaned into the doorway, empty. Just a single rocking chair, swaying on its own. On the seat, I found the coin again. This time it lay flat, reflecting the beam of my flashlight. I didn't touch it. I just backed out slowly, letting the chair creak as it rocked, the lullaby fading into silence. Rule 5 caught my eye as I returned to the desk. If you see a patient gown on the floor, leave it. Do not step on it, do not pick it up. I thought it was absurd, until I found one lying neatly in the hallway, like someone had just stepped out of it seconds ago. I edged around it carefully. The gown shifted slightly, as if invisible feet were still inside, walking away. My chest tightened, breath shallow. I made it back to the desk, eyes locked on the monitors. On screen, the elevator doors opened again. Only this time, the tall, static figure stepped out. The cameras fuzzed, distorting the shape. Its head turned slowly toward the lens. And though it had no face, I knew it was looking at me. One by one, the monitors cut to black. First East Wing, then Pediatrics, then Stairwell. The only feed left was the morgue. The camera showed the basement hallway. The morgue door rattled violently, shaking in its frame. I fumbled for the phone, dialing the number again. The same calm voice answered. "You shouldn't be watching that." "What do I do?" I whispered. There was a long pause, then, "Don't open the door, no matter what it offers." Before I could ask what that meant, the line went dead. The morgue camera flickered. The door had stopped rattling. Now it stood wide open, and something low to the ground was crawling out. The thing dragged itself on all fours, its limbs too long, bending the wrong way. Its skin was paper white, stretched so thin I could see the black veins writhing beneath. Even through the screen, I could hear the wet scrape of its palms dragging across tile. I froze, watching. It paused halfway up the hall, head twitching as if listening. Then, with impossible speed, it snapped its gaze directly at the camera. At me. My stomach dropped. The monitor fizzled, but before it cut, I saw something glinting in its hand. A coin. My coin. It pressed the edge of it to the floor, carving a jagged circle into the tiles as it crawled. The office lights flickered. I heard it then, not through the monitor, but in the building itself. The same dragging limbs, closer now. I yanked the desk drawer open, searching for anything, a weapon, a lock, a miracle. Nothing but dust and broken pens. I slammed the drawer shut, but when I looked up, the rules sheet had changed. New lines had been scribbled at the bottom in fresh ink. If it makes an offer, refuse. If it gives you a coin, do not take it. My throat went dry. The scratching sound was just outside the office door now. A long pause. Then 3 slow knocks. Calm, polite. The handle turned, but the lock held. From the other side came a voice, low and warped, but almost human. "Cold nights, aren't they?" it said. "I can make them warmer. Just open the door." My knees trembled. I clutched the phone again, but the line was dead. The knocks grew faster, more impatient. Papers rattled on the desk. Then silence. I held my breath. The monitors sparked back on, showing every hallway empty. No crawling figure. No door ajar. Nothing. Relief washed over me until I noticed the object lying on the desk. A coin, identical to the one I'd seen vanish, placed neatly beside the rule sheet. It pulsed faintly under the fluorescent light, like it was breathing. Against every instinct, I reached for it, but just as my fingers brushed the edge, the overhead lights cut out completely. The office drowned in black, leaving only the faint glow of that coin on the desk. In the dark, every sound was sharper. My breath ragged, the faint hum of dying wires. And then footsteps, bare feet slapping the linoleum, circling the office. I pressed myself against the wall, clutching the useless flashlight. I clicked it on. The beam sputtered weakly, illuminating the doorway. Empty. The footsteps stopped. Then, from behind me, a whisper. "You already took it." I spun around. No one there. The coin still glowed faintly on the desk, as if mocking me. I grabbed it in panic, and the moment my skin touched it, the hospital changed. The monitors blinked back on, but the feeds weren't of empty hallways anymore. They showed the same rooms, but filled. Patients in beds, doctors rushing past, nurses whispering. Only, their faces were blurred, smeared into static. I staggered back, heart pounding. A voice came through the phone again, though I hadn't dialed. "Rule 1 is broken," the calm man said. "Now you'll see what they see." The monitors shifted. The pediatric wing was full of children, standing silently in the hallway. Their heads turned in unison toward the camera. Their mouths moved, but no sound came. Only the hum of static. I dropped the coin. It clattered across the desk, rolled, and fell to the floor. But instead of bouncing, it sank straight through the tiles, leaving behind a black, tar-like stain that spread outward in a perfect circle. The lights flickered again, and standing at the edge of that circle was the crawling thing from the morgue. Only now it stood upright, impossibly tall, its bones popping as it straightened. It smiled, though it had no mouth. It stepped forward, and every monitor went white with static. I heard the rules sheet flutter on the desk. When I glanced at it, more words had appeared, written in frantic, jagged handwriting. "Do not let it finish the circle." I looked down. The black stain had spread halfway around me already, closing in like a noose. The coin pulsed at the center, dragging the darkness wider, hungrier. And the thing just kept smiling. I pressed myself against the office wall, trying not to step into the spreading stain. It smelled like burnt copper, sharp and metallic, searing my nostrils. The figure crouched low again, tilting its head, studying me. It whispered, though its chest never rose. No breath carried the words. "One trade," it said softly. "One coin for one life. I give, you take. Refuse, and the circle takes you." The monitors flickered again, showing not the hospital now, but my apartment. My kitchen light left on. My jacket slung over a chair. On the couch, my younger sister asleep with her headphones in. I choked back a scream. The thing tapped its finger against the coin, and my sister's image flickered, her chest rising and falling slower, as though something were siphoning her breath away. "Choose," it said, stretching out its hand. In its palm, the coin gleamed brighter than ever. For a second, I could swear its faceless surface showed her reflection, distorted and terrified. My hands trembled. The rules sheet rattled violently on the desk, as though caught in a storm. A new line inked itself across the bottom. "Do not accept its bargains. Do not trade. It lies." I forced my gaze away, staring at the floor instead of the monitors. "No," I whispered, barely audible. "You can't have her." My voice cracked, weak against the darkness. The creature froze. Then it tilted its head back and laughed, though the sound was wrong, like bones snapping, echoing from every corner of the office. The circle spread wider. My shoes nearly touched its edge. The coin pulsed faster, beating like a heart. On the monitors, my sister began to stir, as if sensing the pull even from miles away. The voice shifted, calm again, closer, pressing against my ear though nothing stood behind me. "Then give me you," it whispered. "Step forward. Let the coin claim you instead." The floor vibrated under my feet as the circle widened again. I pressed against the farthest corner of the office, my eyes darting to the rules sheet. Another line appeared in frantic ink. If the circle closes, no rule can save you. My heart pounded. The stain reached the chair legs, dissolving them as though they were paper. The monitors sparked, each one flashing random scenes. The morgue, the children, my sister, all staring into the lens at once. The creature's long fingers tapped against its thigh, impatient. "Step in," it said, "or I take her instead. My coin has already chosen." I forced my eyes shut, trying to block it out. A memory surfaced, something from orientation. The manager had said, "Don't crumple the rules sheet. Don't tear it. Don't destroy it. Ever." What if that warning meant the opposite? What if the rules themselves were a trap? My hands shook as I grabbed the paper, staring at its writhing text. The letters seemed alive, crawling across the page. The figure leaned closer, its shadow stretching over me. "They can't save you," it hissed. "The rules are mine. My gift. My leash." The figure leaned closer, its shadow stretching over me. "They can't save you," it hissed. "The rules are mine. My gift. My leash." I clenched my jaw and tore the page in half. The sound was deafening, like a scream bursting from the paper itself. The monitors shattered, glass raining down across the office floor. The circle stopped spreading. The coin froze, its light dimming as though the tear had severed its hold. The figure recoiled, hissing like steam escaping a broken pipe. "You shouldn't have done that." It spat, its voice fractured and doubled, like two mouths speaking from different corners of the room. Its form flickered, unstable, as if the tear had wounded it. But the circle didn't recede. The coin still pulsed faintly, a dim ember in the black stain. I realized with horror. I'd stopped it from finishing, but I hadn't ended it. Not yet. I bolted from the office, slamming the door behind me. The hallway lights flickered, bathing everything in a dull, yellow glow. The once familiar corridors looked stretched, wrong, doors farther apart, ceilings lower, as if the building itself were shifting. My footsteps echoed too loudly. Each step sounded like two, then three, as though something followed just behind. I forced myself not to look back. Not yet. The stairwell door loomed ahead. I grabbed the handle. It burned my palm, scalding hot. When I pulled it open, the steps weren't there, just a yawning black void that hummed like a living throat. I slammed it shut, gasping. The hospital groaned all around me, metal and concrete creaking like old bones. The fluorescent bulbs buzzed, dimmed, and then whispered. Actual whispers, thousands of them, seeping from the ceiling. Every door along the hallway opened at once. Patients shuffled out, but they weren't alive. Their faces were sunken, eyes hollow pits filled with static. They turned toward me in unison. I stumbled backward, nearly tripping over my own feet. The torn rules sheet slipped from my pocket, scattering its halves across the floor. The nearest patient bent down, scooped up one piece, and held it out. Its voice was a low rattle. "Finish reading." My stomach dropped. The page I thought destroyed was still obeyed, still alive, still binding. The hospital wasn't just haunted. It was ruled by the rules themselves. I snatched the paper back and bolted toward the next wing. The walls stretched wider as I ran, the hallway bending like a funhouse corridor. I passed the pediatric unit again. The children were still there, but now they were closer, pressed against the glass, their faces pale and lips mouthing one word in perfect silence: "Stay." Behind me, the footsteps grew louder, heavier. I didn't need to look to know the figure from the circle was following, dragging the black stain with it, painting the hallways as it came. I sprinted through the warped hallways, my breath ragged, my chest burning. The emergency exit sign glowed ahead in its familiar red. I threw myself toward it, slamming the bar with my shoulder. The door opened to another hallway, identical to the one I had just run through. Same peeling paint, same buzzing lights, except now the walls bled faint lines of black liquid, tracing veins that pulsed faintly. I stumbled back, shaking my head. The rules page fluttered again in my hand, letters crawling like insects. They formed a new sentence across the crease. There is no outside. The night keeps you until it chooses. A soft metallic clink echoed down the corridor. My blood ran cold. I knew that sound. The coin rolled slowly toward me, spinning in a perfect circle before stopping at my feet. The figure's voice followed, though it was distant now, distorted as though traveling through radio static. "Pick it up. It's yours now. You earned it." I didn't move. My legs locked. The coin gleamed faintly, and for the briefest moment, I saw my reflection in its surface, but it wasn't me. It was my body, slumped over in the guard's chair, eyes black and mouth slack. I gagged and kicked the coin. It skittered across the floor, but instead of stopping, it rolled perfectly straight toward the pediatric unit door. The children watched, their eyes following its path. The coin stopped beneath the glass. One of the children, a boy with hollow cheeks and missing teeth, pressed his hand against the window. A faint smile tugged at his lips as if he recognized it. The monitors in the hall sparked back to life. They no longer showed random feeds. Each screen displayed the coin, magnified, pulsing like an organ. Beneath it, in red text, a single command: accept it. The footsteps closed in. The figure's presence thickened the air, heavy and suffocating. I knew then I had one choice left. Either I took the coin, or it would claim everything around me, including the people I loved. The coin lay on the floor, glowing faintly, pulsing in time with my heartbeat. My throat was dry, my legs trembling. Behind me, the figure's shadow spilled across the walls like ink spreading in water. "Take it," the whisper pressed against my ear, though it hadn't moved closer. "If you don't, the circle continues. It won't stop with you. It will find them." The children pressed harder against the glass, their hands smearing the surface. Their mouths moved in unison, silent but clear. "Do it." I bent down slowly, my fingers hovering over the coin. It was warm, alive, as if it breathed. The rules paper twitched in my other hand, the letters blurring until they spelled, "Choice binds you forever." The moment my skin touched the coin, the hallway fell silent. The lights stopped flickering. The whispers died. Even the figure froze, its shape dissolving into the wall like smoke retreating into cracks. The children vanished. The glass panes were empty. The hospital hallways were normal again. At least they looked normal. Only the coin remained, heavy in my palm, its weight far greater than its size. I stumbled toward the exit once more. This time, the doors opened to the outside. Cold night air rushed in. I almost cried from the relief, but as I stepped out, I heard it, the faint sound of the coin spinning. I opened my hand. It was gone. The coin wasn't with me anymore. Instead, a small smear of black stain spread across my palm, forming a circle that pulsed like a second heartbeat. In the distance, I saw headlights. My sister's car pulled up by the curb. She waved at me, smiling, unaware of the darkness that followed me out. My body went rigid. The mark throbbed. The coin had chosen. And I finally understood the last unspoken rule of the hospital. You never really leave. You just carry it with you, until it finds the next host.